Hello and welcome, everyone. It's so great to have you here with us today on Speak Up. I'm Ryan, and as always, I'm joined by my amazing co-host, Priya. Whether you're tuning in during your commute, taking a break, or looking for ways to grow and improve yourself, we're thrilled you chose to spend this time with us. Today's topic is one that I think every single one of us can relate to, no matter where you are in your personal or professional journey. It's something that can feel small or even unnoticeable, but its impact is enormous. We're diving into the world of self-talk, those internal conversations we have with ourselves every single day. And trust me, this is a conversation you won't want to miss because it could change the way you see yourself and the world around you.
Hi, everyone. I couldn't agree more with Ryan. First, let me say how much we appreciate you being here. We know you have countless options for podcasts, and the fact that you've chosen us means a lot. So let's make this time valuable for you. Today, we're going to talk about self-talk, what it is, why it matters, and most importantly, how you can harness it to your advantage. You see, self-talk is more than just words in your head. It's a powerful tool that influences your mindset, your actions, and even your success in life. Often, we underestimate the power of our inner dialogue, but when we understand it and learn to control it, the possibilities for growth are endless. By the end of this episode, you'll have a clear understanding of what self-talk is and actionable steps to make it work for you. Whether it's building confidence, overcoming challenges, or simply being kinder to yourself, we're here to guide you through it.
Exactly, Priya. And what's really fascinating is that self-talk is something we all do, whether we're aware of it or not. The way we speak to ourselves can either lift us up or drag us down. It's like having a personal coach in your mind. Only this coach can either be your biggest cheerleader or your harshest critic. So today, we're going to break it all down. The types of self-talk, the science behind it, and most importantly, how you can shift those internal conversations to create a more positive and empowering mindset. Trust me, once you start paying attention to your self-talk, you'll be amazed at how much it can transform your life.
Absolutely. And I want to add that this is especially important for those of us who are striving for personal growth or facing challenges. Whether you're working on your career, relationships, or simply trying to maintain balance in your life, the way you speak to yourself plays a crucial role. Self-talk isn't just about motivation. It's about changing the way you perceive and approach life's obstacles. Today, we're not just going to tell you why self-talk matters. We're going to show you how to make it work for you, step by step. So grab a coffee, get comfortable, and let's dive into this powerful, life-changing tool together. Before we dive deeper, let's take a moment to talk about what you're going to gain from this discussion. By the end of this episode, you'll walk away with a deep understanding of what self-talk truly is. You'll learn how to identify the different types of self-talk, whether it's positive, negative, or neutral, and understand the subtle but profound ways it affects your emotions, your behaviors, and even the outcomes in your life. More importantly, we'll give you practical techniques to recognize and transform those moments of negative self-talk into empowering, constructive ones. And this isn't just a quick fix. We'll explore strategies to build a lasting habit of positive self-talk, something that can serve you throughout your life.
And to make all of this actionable, we're not just focusing on abstract concepts. We're bringing in insights from psychology and neuroscience to show you the scientific basis of why self-talk works. We'll also share real-life examples that you can relate to, whether it's overcoming self-doubt, boosting your confidence before a big presentation, or finding calm in the midst of chaos. The goal is to give you tools you can immediately use to reshape your inner dialogue and, by extension, reshape how you experience life. This episode is designed to be both thought-provoking and practical, so you'll leave with not just understanding, but actionable steps you can take.
Exactly. And let's take a moment to consider why this really matters. You see, self-talk is not just about thinking positively or cheering yourself on. It's about mastering the most intimate relationship you have, the one with yourself. Self-talk influences how you view your abilities, how you handle stress, and even how you interact with others. If your inner dialogue is filled with doubt and negativity, It can become a barrier to personal growth and success. But if you learn to guide that inner voice toward encouragement and resilience, the possibilities are endless. It's the foundation for building confidence, maintaining focus, and fostering a mindset that allows you to thrive in any situation.
Absolutely. Imagine the difference it could make if your inner voice became your strongest supporter rather than your biggest critic. Think about how that could impact your career, your relationships, and even your mental health. Self-talk is like the lens through which we see ourselves and the world around us. When we change that lens, we can change everything. And that's why mastering self-talk is not just a nice-to-have skill, it's essential. It's a tool for building a life that feels more aligned, more confident, and more fulfilling. By the end of this episode, you'll have everything you need to start making those changes. Let's start by defining what self-talk really is. Self-talk is essentially the internal dialogue running through your mind all day, every day. Think of it as the narrator of your life, constantly commenting on your experiences, thoughts, and feelings. It's that voice inside your head that reacts to everything you see, hear, and feel. But here's the thing, it's not just passive noise. Your self-talk holds the power to shape your perception of yourself and the world around you. It can influence your mood, your confidence, and even your ability to take action. The key is recognizing that this inner dialogue is happening, whether you're aware of it or not.
Exactly, Ryan. Most of us don't even realize how much of an impact our self-talk has because it operates in the background. It's like a constant soundtrack to your life. Sometimes it's supportive, like a cheerleader saying, "You can do this," but other times it can be harsh and critical, making you doubt yourself. What's really fascinating is that self-talk isn't just about what you think. It's also about how you frame those thoughts. For example, let's say you make a mistake at work. A critical self-talk voice might say, "I'm such a failure," whereas a supportive voice might say, "Mistakes happen. I'll learn from this." The situation stays the same, but the internal dialogue completely changes how you feel and respond.
Right. And to really understand self-talk, we need to break it down into its types. Broadly speaking, self-talk can be categorized into 3 forms: positive, negative, and neutral. Let's start with positive self-talk. This is the kind of internal dialogue that encourages and empowers you. It's about growth and resilience. For instance, when you're preparing for a big presentation, positive self-talk might sound like, "I've got this, I've prepared well, and I'm ready." This type of dialogue helps boost your confidence and keeps you focused on what's possible.
Then we have negative self-talk, which unfortunately many of us are more familiar with. This type of self-talk is critical, limiting, and often fear-based. It's the voice that says things like, "I'll never be good enough," or "Why even try if I'm just going to fail?" Negative self-talk can hold you back from taking risks or trying new things because it feeds into self-doubt and fear. And what's troubling is that this voice can feel so automatic and convincing that we rarely challenge it. It becomes a barrier to growth and success.
And finally, there's neutral self-talk. This type of dialogue is more observational and fact-based, without any emotional charge. For example, you might think, "It's raining outside," or "I need to finish this report by 5 p.m. Neutral self-talk doesn't necessarily encourage or discourage. It simply states what is. While it may not have the same emotional impact as positive or negative self-talk, it still plays a role in how we process and react to situations.
That's such an important point, Ryan. Understanding these types of self-talk is the first step toward becoming more aware of the patterns in your own inner dialogue. Once you can identify whether your self-talk is positive, negative, or neutral, you can start to take control of it. And as we'll explore later, the goal isn't to eliminate all negative self-talk. That's not realistic. Instead, it's about recognizing it, challenging it, and shifting toward a more supportive and constructive internal dialogue. Awareness is where it all begins. To truly understand self-talk, it's essential to explore where it comes from. Self-talk doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It's shaped by a combination of factors throughout your life. Childhood experiences play a particularly significant role. Think about it. The way you were spoken to as a child often becomes the foundation of your internal dialogue. If you grew up in an environment where encouragement and praise were common, you're more likely to develop a supportive and positive self-talk pattern. On the other hand, if you frequently faced criticism or unrealistic expectations, those voices may still linger in your mind, often manifesting as self-doubt or self-criticism. But childhood isn't the only factor. Cultural influences also play a big part. Societal expectations, media messages, and even the way success and failure are portrayed in your community can shape how you perceive yourself and talk to yourself internally.
That's a great point, Priya. And to build on that, let's consider how specific past experiences shape our self-talk, both successes and failures. For example, if you've had a history of achieving your goals, your self-talk might naturally include affirmations like, "I can do this," or "I've succeeded before, so I'll succeed again." These experiences create a positive feedback loop that strengthens your belief in yourself. But if your past is filled with setbacks or situations where you felt inadequate, your internal dialogue might lean toward phrases like, "I always mess things up," or "Why even bother trying?" What's fascinating is how deeply these patterns can get embedded, sometimes without us even realizing it. For instance, if you were often criticized or compared to others as a child, it's easy to develop a habit of being overly self-critical, constantly doubting your abilities, even when you're doing well.
Exactly. And it's not just personal experiences. Social and cultural norms often shape how we talk to ourselves. Think about how certain cultures value humility, which can sometimes lead people to downplay their achievements or view self-praise as arrogance. In other contexts, there's immense pressure to succeed, which can foster a fear of failure and a harsh inner critic. These societal messages get internalized over time, becoming part of your self-talk narrative. Even the media you consume plays a role. For instance, constant exposure to perfection on social media can make you overly critical of yourself, thinking, "Why don't I look like that?" Or, "Why can't I achieve that level of success?" Recognizing these influences is crucial because it helps you separate your authentic inner voice from external expectations.
That's such an important point, Priya. And what's empowering is that while our self-talk is shaped by our past, it's not set in stone. Understanding where it comes from is the first step toward reshaping it. For example, if you recognize that your self-critical tendencies stem from childhood criticism, you can start to challenge and reframe those thoughts. It's about taking ownership of your internal dialogue and making conscious choices to shift it in a direction that supports your growth. And as we'll discuss later, there are practical techniques to help you do just that. But awareness is the foundation.
Absolutely, Ryan. Self-talk may be rooted in our past, but it doesn't have to define our future. The key takeaway here is that our inner dialogue is influenced by external factors: childhood, culture, past experiences. But once we become aware of those influences, we gain the power to change the narrative. And that's what makes this journey so exciting. It's not about erasing your past. It's about transforming how you respond to it and how you use that understanding to shape a more positive and empowering future for yourself.
Let's dive into the fascinating science behind self-talk and how it impacts our brain. At its core, self-talk is more than just words. It's a powerful process that shapes how our brain functions. Think of your brain as a vast network of highways, and these highways are formed by neural pathways. When you think a particular thought, your brain activates a specific pathway. Now, the more you repeat that thought, the stronger and more reinforced that pathway becomes. It's like walking through a field. The first time you're just clearing the grass, but over time, as you keep walking the same path, it becomes a well-trodden trail. This is how self-talk works. It literally rewires your brain. If your self-talk is consistently positive, it strengthens pathways that promote resilience, optimism, and confidence. On the other hand, if your self-talk is negative, it reinforces patterns that can lead to stress, anxiety, and self-doubt.
That's such a powerful analogy, Ryan. And what's even more fascinating is how these neural pathways affect our emotional and physical responses. Let's start with positive self-talk. When you engage in uplifting, constructive inner dialogue, your brain releases neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin, chemicals that are associated with feelings of happiness and motivation. Over time, this not only improves your mood, but also builds mental resilience. Positive self-talk essentially becomes a buffer against stress and challenges. Now contrast that with negative self-talk. When you're stuck in a cycle of self-criticism or doubt, your brain perceives it as a threat. This activates your amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for the fight or flight response. As a result, your body releases stress hormones like cortisol, which can make you feel anxious, overwhelmed, or even physically fatigued. The difference between positive and negative self-talk isn't just emotional, it's deeply biological.
And what's interesting is how these responses can become self-reinforcing. For example, if your self-talk after making a mistake is something like, "I'm so bad at this," your brain strengthens the neural pathway associated with self-doubt and failure. Over time, this can make it easier for your brain to default to negative thinking in similar situations. On the flip side, if your response is, "I'll learn from this and do better next time," you're strengthening a pathway that's associated with growth and perseverance. This is why self-talk isn't just a surface-level tool. It's a way to train your brain to think and respond differently. And the beauty of neural plasticity, the brain's ability to change, is that it's never too late to reshape these pathways. With consistent effort, you can rewire your brain to make positive thinking your default mode.
Exactly. And let's not forget the ripple effect this has on your overall well-being. Positive neural pathways don't just improve your mental health, they enhance your physical health too. Lower cortisol levels, for instance, mean less stress on your cardiovascular system and a stronger immune response. In contrast, chronic negative self-talk, with its associated stress responses, can contribute to issues like high blood pressure, weakened immunity, and even chronic fatigue. It's remarkable how something as seemingly small as self-talk can have such profound effects on our entire being. The science shows us that what we say to ourselves matters, on a neural level, on an emotional level, and even on a physical level.
And that's why understanding the science behind self-talk is so empowering. Once you realize that your thoughts are literally shaping your brain and influencing your body, it becomes clear just how much control you have over your own well-being. It's not about ignoring challenges or pretending everything is perfect. Instead, it's about recognizing the power you have to shift your perspective and, in doing so, reshape your reality. And as we move forward in this discussion, we'll explore practical ways to harness this power and start rewiring those neural pathways in a way that truly serves you. Let's take a look at some compelling studies on self-talk and its impact. Research has shown that self-talk is not just a psychological concept, it has real, measurable effects. For example, a study published in the Journal of Sports Psychology found that athletes who used positive self-talk performed significantly better under pressure. The study showed that when athletes engaged in affirmations like, "I can do this," or "stay focused," they were able to maintain better performance during high-stress situations, like competitions. The self-talk helped them stay calm, maintain concentration, and boost their confidence, ultimately leading to improved outcomes. This research underscores just how much of a difference self-talk can make, not only in sports, but also in any situation that demands peak performance.
That's an incredible study, Ryan. And what's even more fascinating is that the benefits of positive self-talk go beyond just performance. They also have a profound impact on our emotional and physical well-being. For instance, studies have shown that positive self-talk can actually lower cortisol levels in the body. Cortisol is the hormone released during stress, and chronic high levels of it can lead to problems like anxiety, insomnia, and even immune system suppression. But when you engage in positive self-talk, you help regulate your stress responses. Your brain begins to associate challenges with calmness and resilience, rather than with panic or fear. This not only reduces stress, but also improves your ability to focus, manage emotions, and stay grounded in difficult situations.
It's amazing how the simple act of shifting your inner dialogue can have such powerful physiological effects. For example, in another study, researchers found that people who practiced positive self-talk were better at managing anxiety before stressful events, like public speaking. By replacing anxious thoughts like, "I'm going to mess up," with more encouraging ones like, "I'm prepared and I can handle this," participants reported feeling more confident and less anxious. This shows that self-talk can change not just how we feel, but also how we physically respond to stress. It's like giving your body a signal that it doesn't need to go into fight or flight mode all the time.
Exactly. And when we talk about emotional regulation, it's clear that positive self-talk plays a key role. In one study, individuals who engaged in self-compassionate self-talk, such as, "It's okay to make mistakes," or "I'm doing my best," were found to have better emotional regulation and less self-criticism. This kind of supportive dialogue helps reduce feelings of guilt, shame, and frustration, all of which can cloud your thinking and hinder your progress. Instead of getting stuck in negative emotions, you can move forward with a sense of balance and understanding. This is particularly important for maintaining mental health in the face of challenges.
And these findings aren't just theoretical. There's real-life evidence supporting the idea that positive self-talk leads to tangible improvements in performance and mental health. It's clear that the way we talk to ourselves doesn't just stay in our heads. It ripples out and affects everything from our mood to our physical health. So it's not just about thinking positive thoughts. It's about using self-talk as a tool to actively reshape our experiences and outcomes. And as we move forward, we'll talk about how you can implement these findings in your own life, using self-talk to create lasting positive change.
Let's take a closer look at how self-talk can directly influence our emotional and physical health. Negative self-talk, as we mentioned earlier, isn't just a mental pattern. It can significantly affect your emotions and even your body. When you constantly engage in critical or defeatist thoughts, your brain interprets these as stress signals, triggering the release of stress hormones like cortisol. Over time, this chronic stress response can lead to a range of emotional problems, including heightened anxiety, depression, and lowered self-esteem. You might find yourself feeling overwhelmed by situations that wouldn't typically cause such a reaction. Negative self-talk also affects your physical health. For example, studies have linked chronic negative thinking to higher blood pressure, increased risk of heart disease, and even a weakened immune system. It's a cycle. Negative thoughts lead to stress, which in turn impacts your health, creating a continuous loop that's hard to break.
That's a powerful point, Priya. The emotional toll of negative self-talk is profound, but it's also important to remember that positive self-talk can have the opposite effect, working in a way that promotes overall well-being. When you consistently practice positive self-talk, it helps rewire your brain to focus on resilience and self-compassion. This shift has far-reaching benefits for your emotional health. Positive self-talk can significantly reduce feelings of stress, anxiety, and self-doubt, allowing you to approach challenges with a calm, focused mindset. This isn't just a feel-good benefit, it's backed by science. Research has shown that individuals who engage in supportive self-talk experience lower levels of anxiety and improved emotional regulation, which leads to better mental health overall.
Exactly, Ryan. And beyond emotional health, positive self-talk also has a remarkable impact on your physical health. It boosts your immune function, for example. When you're in a positive mental state, your body is better equipped to fight off infections and illnesses. This is because positive thinking can reduce inflammation in the body and improve overall bodily function. In contrast, the stress caused by negative self-talk can suppress immune function, making you more vulnerable to sickness. But when you cultivate positive self-talk, it's like giving your body an extra layer of protection. You're not only improving your emotional resilience, but also enhancing your body's ability to stay healthy.
That's an important distinction, Priya. The connection between mind and body is incredibly powerful, and the way we talk to ourselves plays a huge role in strengthening or weakening that connection. When you consistently practice positive self-talk, you create an environment within yourself that fosters health and healing. For example, a study found that patients recovering from surgery who maintained a positive mindset and engaged in positive self-talk recovered faster and with fewer complications. This shows just how much our thoughts can influence our physical health. It's not about ignoring the real challenges you face. It's about choosing a mindset that supports your well-being even in tough situations.
And that's the key takeaway here. Self-talk is not just a mental exercise. It's a tool that impacts every aspect of your health, from your emotional state to your physical body. By practicing positive self-talk, you're actively boosting your mental and physical resilience, making it easier to face life's challenges with strength and optimism. So, when you start noticing negative self-talk creeping in, take a moment to pause and shift your inner dialogue. Instead of focusing on what you can't do, focus on what you can do. That small shift can have a huge impact on how you feel, both emotionally and physically.
Now that we've talked about the science behind self-talk, let's take a look at how it shows up in our daily lives. Self-talk is something we all engage in, whether we're aware of it or not. And the way we talk to ourselves can dramatically impact our performance in different areas of life. Let's start with something many of us have experienced: a job interview. Imagine you're walking into an important interview for your dream job. If your self-talk in the lead-up to the interview is filled with doubt, thinking things like, "I'm not qualified enough," or "I'll probably mess this up," you're setting yourself up for failure before you even step into the room. This kind of negative self-talk can increase your anxiety, lower your confidence, and even affect your body language, which can be picked up by the interviewer.
That's right, Ryan. Negative self-talk before a job interview can not only impact your emotional state, but also your physical presence. But imagine the difference if, instead of focusing on your insecurities, you engaged in positive self-talk. "I've prepared for this. I have valuable experience. I'm going to do my best, and that's enough." This kind of mindset shift can help you stay calm, confident, and focused. You'll be able to engage more effectively with the interviewer and present yourself in the best light. Positive self-talk boosts your chances of success by not only changing how you feel, but also how you perform.
Exactly, Priya. Another area where self-talk plays a crucial role is in public speaking. Public speaking is a common source of anxiety for many people, and the inner dialogue leading up to speaking in front of others can either help you or hinder you. If you're thinking, "I'm going to forget what to say," or "everyone is going to judge me," those thoughts can trigger your fight-or-flight response and make it even harder to perform well. But if you replace those thoughts with affirmations like, "I've prepared for this moment," or "I can communicate clearly and effectively," you shift your focus from fear to confidence. It's the difference between seeing the audience as a threat or as an opportunity to share your message.
And that's the key, Ryan. Self-talk doesn't just influence our emotions and performance, it shapes how we view the world and the people around us. Take personal relationships, for example. Let's say you're having a disagreement with a close friend or family member. Negative self-talk might lead you to think, "They never listen to me," or "I'm always the one who's wrong." These thoughts can cause you to feel defensive, hurt, or frustrated, which may escalate the situation. But if you approach the conversation with positive self-talk, such as, "I'm going to communicate my feelings calmly," or "We can work through this together," you create a more constructive and open dialogue. Your mindset can be the difference between resolving the conflict peacefully or letting it spiral into an argument.
Absolutely. And it's important to recognize that self-talk in relationships doesn't just affect how we communicate with others. It also impacts how we see ourselves within those relationships. When we engage in positive self-talk, we're more likely to set healthy boundaries, express our needs clearly, and approach the relationship with a sense of confidence and self-worth. Negative self-talk, on the other hand, can make us feel inadequate or undeserving, leading to frustration, misunderstandings, or even passive behavior. So, whether it's a job interview, public speaking, or personal relationships, The way we talk to ourselves shapes how we interact with the world and the outcomes we achieve.
Exactly. And the good news is that we can change the way we speak to ourselves in any of these scenarios. It all starts with awareness, recognizing when negative self-talk is creeping in and consciously choosing to replace it with more positive, supportive thoughts. By doing so, you're not only improving your immediate performance or communication, but also setting the stage for long-term personal growth and success.
Now that we understand the impact of self-talk on our lives, it's time to focus on recognizing and overcoming negative self-talk. Negative self-talk can be sneaky. It often appears so naturally that we don't even realize it's happening. However, becoming aware of these negative thought patterns is the first step toward breaking free from them. Let's start by looking at some common examples of negative self-talk. One of the most common patterns is catastrophizing. This is when you imagine the worst possible outcome, even if it's unlikely. You might catch yourself thinking things like, "I always mess up," or "This is going to be a disaster." These thoughts create a sense of doom and anxiety, even when the situation is manageable.
Exactly, Ryan. And another common pattern is personalizing. This happens when you blame yourself for something that might not even be entirely your fault. For instance, you might think, "It's all my fault," when a situation goes wrong, even if there were other factors involved. This type of thinking can really weigh on your self-esteem and make you feel responsible for everything, even when you shouldn't be. It creates an unnecessary burden of guilt and can make you feel helpless in situations you can't control.
That's a great point, Priya. And there's also overgeneralizing, which is another negative thought pattern that can limit your potential. Overgeneralizing happens when you take one isolated event and apply it to every situation. For example, after a single failure, you might think, "Nothing ever works out for me," or "I'll never succeed." This kind of thinking can quickly make you feel stuck, as if failure is inevitable, but it ignores the many successes or lessons you've learned along the way. It distorts your reality and keeps you trapped in a negative cycle.
These are all very common examples of negative self-talk, Ryan, but the key to overcoming them lies in recognizing when they occur. The first step is to notice when you're engaging in these patterns. One of the best ways to become aware of negative self-talk is by practicing mindfulness. Mindfulness helps you become more aware of your thoughts without judgment. When you're mindful, you start to notice when your mind drifts into negative thinking, whether it's catastrophizing, personalizing, or overgeneralizing. Once you notice these patterns, you can begin to challenge them.
That's an excellent approach, Priya. Mindfulness really empowers you to take control of your thoughts rather than letting them control you. Once you're aware of these negative patterns, the next step is to challenge them. Ask yourself, is this thought based on facts, or is it an exaggeration? For example, if you're thinking, "I always mess up," challenge that thought by recalling instances where you did things well. This helps you break the pattern and replace negative thinking with a more balanced perspective.
Absolutely, Ryan. Another way to counter negative self-talk is by practicing self-compassion. Instead of berating yourself for mistakes, remind yourself that everyone makes errors and that these mistakes don't define your worth. You can say things like, "It's okay to make mistakes. I'll learn from this and do better next time." By treating yourself with kindness, you're shifting your mindset from one of criticism to one of growth.
Exactly. And to make this process more effective, it's helpful to keep track of your self-talk. Journaling is a great tool for this. Write down the negative thoughts you catch yourself having throughout the day. Then, next to each thought, write a more positive or balanced alternative. For example, if you catch yourself thinking, "I'll never get this job," write down something like, "I may not have all the skills yet, but I have the ability to learn and improve." Over time, this exercise helps you rewire your brain to focus on the positive, and it encourages a more optimistic and realistic mindset.
That's a great technique, Ryan. And remember, overcoming negative self-talk is a process. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes practice, patience, and consistency. The more you practice mindfulness and challenge your negative thoughts, the more natural it will become to replace them with positive self-talk. So, start today. Pay attention to your inner dialogue and begin shifting those negative thoughts into empowering ones. The more you do it, the easier it gets, and the more you'll notice a positive change in your mindset, emotions, and even your behavior.
Let's take a deeper look at the consequences of negative self-talk. As it's not just a fleeting issue, it can have long-lasting effects on our lives. When we engage in negative self-talk, it doesn't only affect our emotions in the moment, it can also hold us back from achieving our goals and reaching our full potential. One major consequence is that it can prevent us from taking risks. For example, if you're constantly thinking, "I'm not good enough," or "I'll never succeed," you're less likely to put yourself out there and try new things. Negative self-talk creates a fear of failure, which keeps us stuck in our comfort zones, avoiding challenges that could lead to growth or success.
Exactly, Ryan. Negative self-talk also erodes our self-confidence. When you continuously doubt your abilities, you start to believe that you're not capable of achieving your goals, even if you're fully capable. For example, someone who has the potential to start their own business might keep thinking, "I'm not cut out for this," or "I'm going to fail," which makes them hesitate to take action. This lack of self-belief creates a cycle of inaction, where you don't take the necessary steps to pursue your ambitions. And that, in turn, feeds into more negative self-talk, creating a vicious cycle.
That's right, Priya. And there's also the issue of self-sabotage. Negative self-talk can undermine our efforts in subtle ways. For example, if you're preparing for an important presentation but keep telling yourself, "I'm not going to do well," you may procrastinate or not put in your best effort because you've already convinced yourself it's going to fail. This is a classic example of self-sabotage, where your thoughts dictate your actions, preventing you from reaching your potential. The more we indulge in negative self-talk, the more we reinforce this cycle of doubt, avoidance, and failure.
It's clear that negative self-talk can create a powerful barrier to success and personal growth. But the good news is that we don't have to remain trapped in this cycle. There are several techniques we can use to transform negative self-talk into something more productive and supportive. One powerful method is reframing. Reframing involves changing the way we look at a situation by altering the negative thoughts into more positive and empowering ones. For example, instead of thinking, "I'm terrible at this," you can reframe it as, "I'm learning and improving every day." This simple shift in perspective allows you to focus on progress rather than perfection, which is much more motivating and achievable.
That's a fantastic technique, Priya. Reframing helps us shift our focus from a fixed mindset, where we believe our abilities are set in stone, to a growth mindset, where we believe we can always improve. Another technique is thought stopping. This is a very effective method when you catch yourself spiraling into negative thoughts. When you notice those negative self-talk patterns creeping in, you can use a visual trigger to stop the cycle. Imagine a big stop sign in your mind and mentally tell yourself, "Stop." This creates a moment of awareness where you can redirect your thoughts. For example, if you're thinking, "I'll never get this job," stop and replace that thought with something more realistic, like, "I have the skills and experience to apply, and I'll give it my best shot."
Thought stopping is a great tool, Ryan. It helps break the automatic negative thinking that often dominates our minds. And another powerful technique is practicing gratitude. Instead of focusing on what you're doing wrong, start recognizing and appreciating your small wins. For instance, instead of thinking, "I'm failing at this project," try to appreciate the progress you've made, like, "I've completed 75% of the project, and that's something to be proud of." By practicing gratitude, you shift your focus from criticism and fear to appreciation and growth. This helps build a more positive and resilient mindset.
That's so true, Priya. Gratitude not only shifts your thoughts but also improves your emotional state. It brings a sense of peace and satisfaction, even in the face of challenges. So if you find yourself caught in a cycle of negative self-talk, try reframing, thought stopping, or practicing gratitude. By using these techniques, you can begin to rewire your thinking and create a healthier, more positive internal dialogue that supports your success and well-being.
Exactly, Ryan. These techniques may take some time and practice to master, but the more you use them, the easier it becomes to shift from negative to positive self-talk. Remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about making progress. And with consistent effort, you'll start to notice a significant difference in how you perceive yourself and your potential.
All right, let's take what we've discussed and put it into practice with a role-playing exercise. Priya, let's say you're someone who's stuck in negative self-talk, and I'll help guide you through reframing your thoughts. Are you ready?
I'm ready, Ryan. Let's see how this works.
Great. So let's start. Imagine you're preparing for an important presentation at work. You've been feeling nervous about it for days, and as you approach the day of the presentation, your inner dialogue is something like, "I'm going to mess up. I always get nervous and forget my points. They're going to think I'm unprepared." How does that sound?
That sounds exactly like what I would say to myself in that situation. My mind goes straight to, I'm going to mess up and everyone will notice how bad I am.
I can see how that would create a lot of anxiety. Now, let's practice reframing that thought. The first step is to recognize it as negative self-talk, which you've already done. Now let's reframe it. Instead of thinking, "I'm going to mess up," let's try, "I'm prepared, and even if I make a mistake, I can handle it." What does that feel like?
It feels a bit more manageable and less overwhelming. It shifts the focus from failure to resilience, which is much more empowering.
Exactly. That's the power of reframing. Now let's take it a step further. Instead of thinking, "I always get nervous," try replacing that with something like, "It's normal to feel nervous, and I can use that energy to perform better." What do you think about that?
I love that. It acknowledges the nerves but also puts them in a positive light, which helps shift the focus from fear to motivation. It makes me feel like I can use the nerves to my advantage.
That's right. By reframing, you're not ignoring your feelings, but you're changing how you interpret them. It turns the situation from something negative into an opportunity for growth. Now let's try one more reframe. Instead of thinking, "They're going to think I'm unprepared," let's think, "I've prepared thoroughly, and even if I slip up, I can recover and keep going." How does that sound?
That sounds empowering. It reminds me that preparation is key, and it's okay to be imperfect. It takes the pressure off and makes me feel like I'm in control of the situation.
Exactly, Priya. You're reframing the situation in a way that builds confidence rather than reinforcing fear. This is the essence of transforming negative self-talk into something that supports you. It doesn't mean you won't feel nervous, but it does mean you can use your thoughts to turn those nerves into a driving force.
I can already feel the difference. It's amazing how much of a shift can happen with just a change in perspective. I'm definitely going to use these reframing techniques in my own life.
I'm glad to hear that. Remember, the more you practice reframing your thoughts, the easier it becomes to handle challenging situations with a positive mindset. So, for anyone listening, you can try this same exercise in your own life. The next time you catch yourself thinking negatively, pause, identify that thought, and reframe it in a way that empowers you. Now let's shift gears and talk about how you can cultivate positive self-talk as a habit. One thing to keep in mind is that building positive self-talk doesn't happen overnight. It takes time and effort, just like building a muscle. When you're starting out, you might feel like your negative self-talk is still dominant, and that's totally normal. The key is consistent effort and repetition. The more you practice positive self-talk, the more it becomes your default mode of thinking.
That's a great analogy, Ryan. It's just like when you're working out. At first, it feels hard, and you may not see immediate results, but over time, with consistent effort, you start to notice changes. The same goes for positive self-talk. You're literally rewiring your brain to default to supportive and empowering thoughts, and as you practice, it becomes more natural. Eventually, positive self-talk will become automatic, and you'll find that you handle challenges with a more optimistic mindset.
Exactly, Priya. And with that in mind, let's talk about some practical strategies that you can implement today to start building positive self-talk into your life. First, we have affirmations. Affirmations are personal statements that you repeat to yourself to affirm your strengths, capabilities, and goals. For example, you could say, I am capable and confident, or I have the skills to succeed. The more you repeat these statements, the more you begin to internalize them. You're reminding yourself of your worth and reinforcing your belief in your abilities.
Affirmations are a simple yet powerful tool, Ryan. They work because they help replace those automatic negative thoughts with something more positive and self-affirming. But it's important to make sure that your affirmations resonate with you personally. Instead of generic statements, try to make them specific to your life. For instance, if you're working on overcoming self-doubt, you might say, I trust my decisions and believe in my judgment. This makes the affirmation more meaningful and easier to internalize.
Great point, Priya. Now, let's move on to another effective strategy: visualization. Visualization is the practice of mentally picturing yourself succeeding in the goals or challenges you're working on. It's a technique that athletes and high performers use to mentally rehearse their success. When you visualize success, you're priming your brain for positive outcomes. For example, before an important meeting or presentation, you could close your eyes and picture yourself speaking confidently, handling questions with ease, and leaving a lasting impression. This reinforces your belief that you are capable of achieving success.
Visualization is powerful because it taps into the subconscious mind, Ryan. By visualizing yourself succeeding, you're not just imagining a positive outcome, you're also building confidence and reducing anxiety. You're showing your brain that success is not only possible, but likely. And the more you practice this, the more your brain starts to associate success with the action you're taking. It's like training your mind to focus on the end goal, which helps you take the necessary steps to make it happen.
Exactly. And another great strategy for cultivating positive self-talk is journaling. Journaling helps you become more aware of your thoughts and emotions. You can start by writing down your negative thoughts, like, I'm not good enough, or I can't handle this, and then reframe them into positive statements. For example, you might change, I'm not good enough to, I am enough, and I have the skills to tackle this challenge. This not only helps you process your thoughts, but also gives you a tangible way to rewrite your internal dialogue.
I love journaling as a strategy, Ryan. It's such an effective way to track your progress and see how your thinking evolves over time. When you go back and read your entries, you might be surprised at how much your mindset has shifted. Journaling also gives you an opportunity to reflect on the positive things that happened during your day. Write about your achievements, no matter how small, and acknowledge the positive steps you're taking. This will help you build momentum in your journey toward positive self-talk.
Exactly. So let's recap those strategies: affirmations, visualization, and journaling. Each of these tools helps you replace negative thoughts with positive ones and reinforces the belief that you can succeed. The key is to practice these techniques daily, and over time, they will help you build a stronger, more positive self-dialogue.
And remember, the goal isn't to eliminate negative thoughts completely, but to develop the awareness and tools to replace them with something more supportive and empowering. The more you practice these strategies, the more natural positive self-talk will become. And that's when you'll start to see real transformation in how you approach life's challenges.
Now that we've talked about the strategies for cultivating positive self-talk, let's dive into some daily practices you can incorporate into your routine to reinforce this mindset. The goal is to make positive self-talk a part of your daily life, so it becomes second nature. One of the best ways to do this is by creating consistent rituals. Let's start with morning rituals.
Morning rituals are a powerful way to set the tone for the day ahead, Ryan. How you start your morning directly impacts your mindset for the rest of the day. So, one great way to begin is by using affirmations or motivational quotes. For example, you could start with a simple affirmation like, "Today is a new opportunity to grow, and I am capable of handling whatever comes my way." Saying something like this in the morning primes your mind for positivity and sets a constructive tone right from the start.
Exactly. Starting your day with a positive affirmation doesn't just boost your confidence, it also helps you focus on your strengths rather than your limitations. It's a mental habit that strengthens your sense of self-worth over time. And another great addition to your morning routine could be motivational quotes. You can find quotes from leaders, thinkers, or even spiritual teachers that resonate with your goals. Reading or repeating these quotes in the morning can spark inspiration and remind you of your inner power.
It's all about creating a mindset that empowers you from the very beginning of the day. And what's key here is consistency. If you make this a daily habit, it becomes ingrained in your subconscious. And as the day progresses, that positive energy flows through your actions and decisions. Now, let's talk about midday check-ins. This is where you take a moment in the middle of the day to pause and evaluate your inner dialogue.
Yes, midday check-ins are crucial because they help you stay aware of how you're feeling and what thoughts are running through your head. During a busy day, it's easy to slip into negative self-talk without realizing it. Maybe you're feeling stressed or frustrated, and suddenly those old habits of self-criticism come back. That's why it's helpful to schedule a brief moment in the middle of the day to check in with yourself. Ask, what am I thinking right now? Are my thoughts empowering or limiting? If you notice any negative self-talk, use that moment to reframe it into something more positive and supportive.
That's such an important practice, Ryan. It's all about building awareness and catching negative thoughts before they can take over. Midday check-ins don't have to be long. Just a minute or two of mindful reflection can reset your mindset and help you stay on track. You can even set an alarm or reminder to do this during your lunch break or whenever you need a mental reset. This simple practice can really change the trajectory of your day, especially if you've started feeling overwhelmed or discouraged.
Absolutely. And finally, let's talk about evening reflections. Just like you start your day with positivity, it's essential to end your day with gratitude and self-reflection. As you wind down for the night, take a moment to reflect on what went well during the day and acknowledge your achievements. Even if you didn't accomplish everything you set out to do, celebrate the small wins and recognize your effort. You might say to yourself, "Today I made progress, and I'm proud of what I accomplished." This helps you end the day on a high note and reinforces the habit of seeing your value.
Evening reflections are a wonderful way to create a sense of closure for the day, Ryan. By focusing on gratitude, you shift your mindset from any frustrations or missed opportunities to an appreciation for the positive moments. This practice helps you reinforce a positive self-image and cultivates a sense of accomplishment. It also provides a chance to acknowledge your growth and celebrate your resilience, even if things didn't go perfectly. The goal is to end your day with a sense of self-compassion and confidence.
And just like with the morning rituals and midday check-ins, consistency is key with evening reflections. Over time, this practice helps you develop a more positive perspective on life, creating a cycle where positive self-talk becomes an automatic response. So, to recap, we have 3 daily practices to reinforce positive self-talk: morning rituals with affirmations or quotes, midday check-ins to stay aware of your thoughts, and evening reflections focused on gratitude and self-appreciation.
When you integrate these practices into your routine, you'll notice a shift in your overall mindset. You'll become more aware of your inner dialogue, more intentional with your thoughts, and more confident in yourself. These small, consistent actions build up over time, creating a foundation of positive self-talk that can transform your life. Let's dive into how we can apply positive self-talk in challenging situations. Life has its fair share of setbacks, criticism, and moments of stress. And that's when our self-talk really matters. When you're facing a challenge, your inner dialogue can either hold you back or push you forward. The key is to use positive self-talk to navigate through those tough times, so that instead of being overwhelmed, you're empowered to handle what's in front of you.
Absolutely, Priya. One of the most common situations where positive self-talk becomes crucial is when you face criticism, whether it's at work, in personal relationships, or even in creative endeavors. Criticism can sting, and it's easy to let it affect your self-esteem. But with positive self-talk, you can turn criticism into a tool for growth. For example, instead of thinking, "I'm terrible at this," you could remind yourself, "Criticism is an opportunity to improve, and I can learn from this." This shift in perspective not only makes you more resilient, but also helps you approach criticism with a mindset of self-improvement rather than self-doubt.
That's a great point, Ryan. It's all about how you interpret and react to criticism. Negative self-talk, like, I'll never get it right, or I'm just not good enough, creates a barrier to growth. But by consciously using positive self-talk, you can take the sting out of criticism and turn it into a stepping stone toward improvement. For example, if someone critiques your work, instead of internalizing it as a personal attack, you can say, "This feedback helps me refine my skills and become even better." This way, you don't just survive criticism, you thrive from it.
Exactly. Now, let's talk about applying positive self-talk in high-pressure situations. Think about a moment where you have to perform under pressure, like a big meeting, an important presentation, or a challenging conversation. When we're under stress, negative self-talk often kicks in, like, "I'm going to mess up," or "What if they think I'm not prepared?" These thoughts create anxiety, which can affect your performance. But with positive self-talk, you can calm those nerves and focus on what's in your control. For instance, before a big presentation, you could tell yourself, "I've prepared for this, I'm confident in my ability, and I can handle any challenges that come my way." This affirmation shifts your mindset from fear to confidence.
That's exactly right, Ryan. Positive self-talk helps you stay grounded and focused, especially in high-pressure situations. It's like having a coach in your head who's cheering you on instead of doubting your every move. Another example could be preparing for an interview or important conversation. Instead of worrying about how you might come across or fearing rejection, you could think, "I have valuable insights to share, and I'm confident in my ability to communicate them clearly." This shifts the focus from fear of failure to self-assurance and competence.
Right. And let's not forget about dealing with the fear of failure. Fear of failure is something we all experience at some point. It's that little voice in your head that says, "What if I fail? What if I don't succeed?" But positive self-talk helps you reframe failure as a part of the learning process. For example, you might say, "Failure is not the end. It's a lesson that brings me closer to success." This type of thinking helps you overcome the fear of failure and approach challenges with resilience, knowing that you can bounce back from setbacks.
And even in moments of personal setbacks, like dealing with a tough situation at home or feeling overwhelmed, positive self-talk can keep you grounded. Instead of saying, "This is too much for me," you could tell yourself, "I've faced difficult situations before, and I have the strength to get through this." The power of positive self-talk is that it anchors you in your own strength and capability, helping you push through obstacles rather than being paralyzed by them.
Exactly, Priya. The beauty of positive self-talk is that it helps you stay in control of your emotions, thoughts, and actions, even when things are tough. Whether you're facing criticism, performance pressure, or the fear of failure, the key is to consciously choose supportive and empowering thoughts. So, to sum up, using positive self-talk in challenging situations helps you stay focused, build resilience, and turn obstacles into opportunities for growth.
That's right. And remember, it's not about avoiding challenges or negative thoughts altogether. It's about how you respond to them. Positive self-talk helps you respond with confidence, calm, and a growth mindset, which ultimately leads to better outcomes and personal growth.
While positive self-talk is a powerful tool, it's important to address some common pitfalls people might encounter. One of the main concerns that often comes up is skepticism. Some people might think, "Does this really work? Isn't it just a way of ignoring problems?" And I get it. Positive self-talk can seem like a fluffy, feel-good concept at first, but the truth is, it's not about ignoring your problems. It's about reframing them in a way that empowers you to find solutions.
Exactly, Ryan. The goal isn't to pretend that challenges don't exist or that everything is always perfect. Life can be difficult, and sometimes we face setbacks or tough situations. Positive self-talk doesn't dismiss that reality. It helps you approach those challenges with a clear, solution-focused mindset. Instead of getting stuck in negative thoughts like, "This is impossible," or "I'll never get through this," positive self-talk helps you shift to thoughts like, "This is difficult, but I can handle it step by step," or "I might face some setbacks, but I'll learn and keep moving forward." It's about finding the mental strength to face challenges, not avoid them.
That's right. And when we focus on constructive solutions, we avoid the trap of becoming overwhelmed by the problem. It's natural to feel frustration or fear in tough situations, but with positive self-talk, you can use that emotional energy to fuel action. For example, if you're facing a challenging project at work, instead of thinking, "This is too hard," you might say, "I'm capable of solving this, and I'll break it down into manageable steps." This mindset empowers you to keep going instead of being paralyzed by negativity.
Absolutely. The power of positive self-talk lies in its ability to guide you toward action rather than inaction. It encourages problem-solving and creative thinking. However, while positive self-talk is incredibly valuable, there is one pitfall we need to avoid, and that's toxic positivity. This is when people push themselves to always be positive, no matter how they're actually feeling.
Toxic positivity is about dismissing real emotions in favor of forced optimism. It's like saying, "Everything happens for a reason," or "Just think positive," without acknowledging that sometimes it's okay to feel upset or frustrated. It's important to validate your emotions rather than suppress them. If you're going through a tough time, it's okay to feel sad, angry, or anxious. Positive self-talk doesn't mean ignoring those feelings. It means not letting them control your actions and mindset.
Exactly. It's crucial to honor your emotions and allow yourself to feel them, because they're part of your experience. Positive self-talk doesn't erase your emotions. It helps you process them in a healthier way. For example, if you're dealing with a setback, you might say, "I'm disappointed right now, and that's okay. But I'm also capable of moving forward and finding a solution." It's about acknowledging what you're feeling without letting it dictate your ability to move past it.
Right. It's all about balance. Positive self-talk should complement your emotional awareness, not replace it. When used properly, self-talk helps you gain perspective, but it doesn't invalidate or dismiss real emotions. By acknowledging your feelings but also focusing on solutions, you create a mindset that supports growth without falling into the trap of pretending everything is fine when it's not.
Exactly, Ryan. It's about being kind to yourself and recognizing that it's okay to experience a full range of emotions. In fact, allowing yourself to feel and process those emotions is part of maintaining mental well-being. Positive self-talk is there to guide you towards self-compassion, resilience, and action. It's not about forcing yourself to be happy all the time. It's about empowering yourself to navigate life's ups and downs with a mindset that helps you thrive.
To sum it up, positive self-talk is not a way to ignore or bypass problems, and it's definitely not about forcing happiness at the expense of real emotions. It's about shifting your mindset to a more constructive, solution-focused approach while still honoring and processing your feelings. By avoiding skepticism and toxic positivity, you can make the most of self-talk as a tool for genuine growth and resilience.